family? Does she have a family?
She lives with us.
No, I mean, does she have a family that she was born into, or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Her family is from Croatia. Her mom is from Croatia and her dad is from what do you call it? Uh uh she lives with us. Oops, there I
No,
go.
I mean, does she have a family that she was born into, or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There. Okay. I'm seeing a repeat of us. But yeah, uh her dad is Slovenian and her mom was Croatian. So she spent most of her life back and forth between Croatia and Slovenia. So
Wow.
um
Now, she's not interested in the course at all?
she's doesn't understand, um it, there's just some people that don't have any thought whatsoever about anything of that nature.
You're right
I
about
don't know.
that one. Wait, I'll tell you in a minute. I'm coming in.
I mean, it's not a bad thing or anything. Honestly, it's just, she has a different point of view, and she, I think a
You
lot
know
of,
what? It's funny because you met Cliff. He went with me to Regina's thing,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
he was in the 12 steps with me,
Yeah.
and he went to Regina's, and he never really said what he got out of Dietrich's thing, but he saw himself like looking at Cliff. Remember, he told Dietrich that. So I thought, oh, he's going to want to study the course. He's not interested in any of it.
No, no,
He said,
no.
I know what you're saying is true. He said what Helen said. I know what you're saying is true, but I don't understand it because he's in the ego framework and the ego thinks it has to understand it. And the ego can't understand it because it's not that part of our mind that wakes up. The ego's nothing.
Let's just look at it this way. Um, he's the part of your mind that doesn't understand it. As you just look at it, that's the part of my mind that
Right.
doesn't
It's
know
my mind. It's always
my mind.
me.
Yeah,
Me.
yeah.
Thank you. I thought last night was very good. I just think the more we're in this, especially now, because I can't lie. I have to say I am political when it comes to wanting people to have, you know, whatever they get, but I can't have both. So I made a choice and it's conscious. I do not want to judge anyone that's out there if I can help it. The ego
Well,
will.
yeah, because it's you, it's yourself. When
Right.
I
Well,
recognize
Keith
that
always
once
says
I
you're
open
not the
up,
ego, so it doesn't matter because you've never been that. You can't make a mistake in the ego because it's not real.
right, but you can sure look at it and see what your
Right.
thoughts
And I still feel as though I'm better off taking a step back and observing. I went on a walk today. I was the observer. That was it. I just watched. It was quiet. The little jumping bean talks though and says, look at that, look at that. It's always trying to
Yeah. Well, and you know what? Look at that because what you're looking at is God. So why
yeah,
not?
that's what's here.
Yeah, yeah, just why not look at it and
Wait, is
this is
that
God in
true?
all his many forms, this is God in all his many forms that is here um just coming here to show me love. And whatever it is, it's love or a call for love. So that makes it simple. All right, let's look at our book. Sharon and I are reading Never Forget to Laugh by Carol Howe, and it's a personal recollections of Bill Thetford.
Carrie is on. Hi, Carrie. I never met Carrie physically. Well, I never met
Yeah,
a lot of people
he's
physically.
a sweetie pie. Yeah, I think he came over here because I had it's hard for people on Gather to hear if I'm on Zoom. So anyway, I try to make it so that everybody can hear. So, and I think it's working okay. Let me check the radio real quick. Sharon and I are reading Never. Yeah, see, radio's good. All right, so I went back a page, and this is. Let me go back and see, because I think this is really a good understanding of. Oh, this is a psychic. Okay, this is a psychic that they met at some place, and he is telling Bill about his life or what he is. So I'll just read until we get up to where we were when we left the other day, because we didn't read this entire account from this psychic Paul. I always think it's so interesting, these psychic people. Oh my goodness, I got some special gift and I can tell you something about yourself that you didn't know. And really all it is you just listen. Believe me, if you go to those programs where, the guy's up on the stage and he'll say, someone in here has suffered a loss and their name starts with M. And then someone in the audience is like, oh, my name is Marvin and I just lost my keys or something. And then the psychic was like, yes, that was you, I see. It was on the corner, everybody, uh, but I mean, I'm just being really, really silly because, there are people who have a deeper insight into the dream, into the record, that can actually see more uh, just by your being. So, just kidding about that. So, anyways, the psychic is saying to him, and your tendency has been in that time and others to isolate the self, to set the self apart, to become a monk, a separated one. And in the most recent life, before this one, disappointment, disillusionment in marriage turned to a depth of spiritual quality that made you feel that separation, isolation, being alone is best for the soul, growth for development. And yet that decision toward loneliness in that time has in this time produced a regret, a feeling of loneliness, isolation. Then you see how these things work together, that one time tempers another, and you are the product of all the times that you lived and all the experiences, one tempering the other to produce that which is perfect for this moment, to express that which must be expressed through it. So basically, he's just saying, he's as we all have been through our various expressions in the dream, through different lives or lifetimes, if you want to call it a lifetime. It really is just another scenario in the dream that we are learning more about ourselves and building ourselves to the point where we can actually see the truth. Uh, so, so this is what he's saying. Bill has been doing, and I'm telling you, any psychic can tell you this because this is true for all of us. There's not a single one of us that isn't part of this same grand scheme of movement that's going on with uh, with the illusion. We're just moving around in the illusion. Okay. So he says, now you still continue with the illusion that each moment must have its purpose and productivity. Something must be produced. There must be a reason for this moment. You must have a goal. There will not be that clarity of specific purpose, goal, or job until is the acceptance that living has purpose now. When being what you are is sufficient unto itself, then the means of listening and the next step will appear. Understand that the concerns for the physical are largely related to that just given. The energy needed will be found in finding purpose. When there is a specific project, there is sufficient energy there too. When there is a feeling of not having direct purpose, there is a feeling of loss of energy, debilitation, lack of direction. Let the moment, let living, let relationships, the relationship with God, be sufficient to that motivation and build the energy for it. So yeah, what do you think about that? I mean, basically, he's just saying, um, once you develop a purpose, then focus everything on that purpose.
Well, for us,
Yeah,
it's always, we are as God created us, or we're the light of the world.
yeah, yeah,
And just be the light. Yeah, it's just the only purpose.
yeah. Just be the light.
Yeah, and
I
but and the other
like.
thing is purpose, use life and all the classroom stuff to help us awaken by giving it over every time, using the classroom just as that, a classroom, not about my life, classroom for our mind.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I mean, this could be anybody. And I mean, this is very general. Uh,
Mhm.
Although I'm sure that Bill took it very specifically. So, as a specific message to him. But this is really general. This is, um, we have an illusion that each moment has to have a purpose in productivity, and something has to be produced. And there's a reason for this moment, that we have a goal. Um, but you
And then
can't
the
do
ego will
that.
say, get something to eat, go turn that on, do whatever it can to distract us from that
Right.
moment. The moment is all there is, and it just wants
Yeah.
us to not know that.
But but you can be still in that same moment and
Oh,
go
yeah,
get something to eat. You can be still in that same moment, and you don't have to leave. You don't have to leave the heart to do the things that you're being prompted to do.
right.
So, whatever it is, don't, if for me, if I look at all the little what I call distractions that the ego comes up with for the various things that I'm doing, I realize that I can either reject the distraction and go back to, "Ooh, I'm going to continue my meditation," or I can actually do what the little baby is asking me to do, and do it with purpose and do it with love, and
Mhm.
recognize that, yeah, go get something to eat is not a bad idea. This is something that, I can go and do in conscience and in purpose. So, when I decide what I'm going to get to eat, how I'm going to fix it, what I'm going to do with it, all of that stuff can be done in conscious mind. And that's what we have to just recognize. It's not the distraction that's keeping us out of conscious mind. It's our decision to be out of conscious mind at any moment, no matter what we're doing.
Yep.
So, that's
Okay.
what I realize my purpose is right now. I'm saying my purpose is I'm getting ready to go on this trip. So, I'm going to focus on whatever it is that I need to do for that. And it's everything I do.
Well, it's to be happy, and that's certainly happy.
Yeah, 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 it's happiness. It's just being in joy wherever you were. So did you get your computer up and running yet, or okay? I'm gonna continue reading. Oh, hi
Hi,
Mickey.
Mickey.
All right. So
Hi, sweetie.
before I knew about this reading with Paul,
You
I
look
was
so
confused.
pretty today. You did your hair. So pretty.
Are you talking to me? Oh,
Mickey, Mickey,
oh,
Mickey.
okay. Let's see. I'm not seeing her. Why am I not seeing her? Oh, wow. You are pretty today.
Yeah, she looks
Always pretty
beautiful.
though. Yeah. We got some, honestly, we have people in this group that are like fashion models. Shocking. It's like, and some are. I think Mickey was a fashion model or a model. Say that sounds so old-fashioned, doesn't it?
Well,
But
she's young too. Mickey, you're young, aren't you? Like in your early 50s?
No, I'm 62.
Okay, so you're not that young, but you're younger than we are.
yes, you're younger than me.
Well, I'm almost, I'll be 70 in January, so that's kind of weird. It's just too weird. You know what's
Yeah,
so weird
well,
about it? Like this is a virtual reality. We are not here 70 years. We can't even with our mind, we're not even here. This
yeah.
character that we're playing, there's no time. It's just this moment that we just blew out a world. God, it's amazing, isn't it?
It is. And this is reminding me of that thing we were reading last night with Jack, which I thought was, I was really good, thought it was really good. And
I loved it.
I,
I
I
love his enthusiasm. He's like the old Jack again, like he was
yeah, it's so
passionate.
awesome. Um, yeah, go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, like when I used to hear him on Gather, he was passionate about the course, and then I didn't understand certain things, and now he's just the same again, passionate for the course.
Yeah, I just was going to come back over to this thing that we were reading, where he says, because everything we think we are is a concept that has been that we have used to build ourselves up from the nothing from the beginning to, what we think we are now and all the concepts that we have. But in the course we were looking at last night, it says concepts are learned. They are not natural. Apart from learning, they do not exist. They are not given, so they must be made. Not one of them is true, and many come from feverish imaginations, hot with hatred and distortions born of fear. What is a concept but a thought to which its maker gives a meaning of his own? Concepts maintain the world, but they cannot be used to demonstrate the world is real, for all of them are made within the world, born in its shadow, growing in its ways, and finally maturing, quote unquote, in its thought. They are ideas of idols painted with the brushes of the world, which cannot make a single picture representing truth. And I read that last night, and I thought about that poem of Mandy is, what am I if I'm not my name? uh, it
It's really funny because what we are is really no thing.
yeah, and we just have built up all these concepts of what we are that are not relevant at all, have no meaning whatsoever.
Right. No meaning.
There's stories we made up for ourselves. It's crazy. All right, so I'm going to continue reading
Okay.
from the book. And Carol continues, before I knew about this reading with Paul, I was conversing with Jason Kane, a friend from Denver. Bill would later meet. Bill would defer to Helen because she did the actual scribing. Um, he observed, as many others have close to Bill, but not a chance in hell it would have happened without him. She required not only support, but the confidence that he gave simply from the power of his presence. His respect, admiration, and appreciation for her helped her to go on. I love that. His respect, admiration, and appreciation for her helped her go on. They were a team, and he knew that. All who knew him commented on the obvious. Bill was an equal, essential part of the course's coming forth. He held the key to its transmission and was ultimately responsible for its coming to pass. Without him, this work would never have happened. Of course, this is not to minimize Helen's part, but to correct any misperception that the course was her work and Bill was the helper. In 1980, Leroy Zemke made many comments in a lengthy reading for Bill about his and Helen's relationship and its ancient origins. Referring to Helen, Leroy told him, "There is another challenge for there is here another challenge for you, and that involves the channel through whom the energy of A Course in Miracles itself was directed. The initial connection with this woman was a very, very powerful one. It is still very powerful on the highest level of your being. There is within you a deep, abiding love, a love which goes back centuries into the past, and it is the expression of a love, a connection initially made in the ancient land of Egypt. You were both in the male form, and your work involved the founding of a school that became a kind of a guideline for the training of the priesthood that would form the foundations of the consciousness of healing in the Egyptian religion of its time. The school itself was thwarted, aborted, and the commitment to establish this energy as a teaching has now been brought into this present time. It will be done without the form of the traditional school, but is still the teaching that is here before you. Here, there is perhaps one additional idea. When this effort in the ancient Soqura, Egypt, was initiated, this entity, Helen, was in the male form. You were both in the male form at that time, as you know, and the energy there was intensely powerful. She felt a tremendous commitment, excuse me, and made a very powerful promise at some junction to come forward with that which would be beneficial for those ready to enter a force field that would permit the unfolding of a new Christ, of the new Christ, the cosmic Christ. And of course, this is a psychic who's giving them a reading and talking about the past. And, as we probably all well know, it actually is just a part of the illusion in the dream. Ancient Egypt is right now, it's in the same time. So, this guy is able to actually see these same two beings who seem to be separate beings um, together in another time, just like Gary Renard and his teachers. So, additional important information is that from that period until this, there have been other embodiments involved with commitments to experiences of like essence. And in this life, the wrestling with the powers of the spirit has been very intense. As a result of that commitment made in ancient Egypt and the experiences in other dimensions of being, there is a reluctance within her consciousness to let go. And it is only through this deliberate shift created by the personality to allow this promise to be made whole through you. So, I guess he's just kind of basically saying you tried it before, that time it didn't work, but now we're back together to do it again, and let's see how this works. Bill then questioned Leroy, who was still in a trance state. I think I have been a very reluctant teacher in this life, and I'm aware of feeling that teaching is a part of my function. But there has always been a sense of drag about this. Somehow I have a great deal of fear, a totally irrational, neurotic fear about getting up before groups, particularly large groups of people. Is there anything that would be helpful in that regard? And of course, Jesus gave him that prayer, I'm here only to be truly helpful. But let's see what this uh, psychic said to him. There are several indications here that are significant. In the past, much of your in-depth work in terms of the way in which you have related to people has been in a one-to-one setting. You have often been involved in the Catholic Church as a priest and have lived the scholastic life, a very secluded scholarly life. And much of your work has thus been involved in communicating with only one person or a very small and or select group. That energy from those life experiences is very much a part of your consciousness. It's a very powerful memory that acts as a resistance to your present setting, since you are no longer in the priesthood, but have been in an academic environment where that same secluded atmosphere has been prevalent. Part of this fear comes from the past. In the priesthood role, your teaching was, as it were, protected protected. It came out of a very sacred dimension that might be challenged by the outer world, but never fully challenged because the priesthood acts as a shield to protect it. Therefore, whatever the priests have taught, be it true or false, has been the aura of the church to give it sanction. However, in this life, that is no longer available to you. Now you are drawing much closer to the source and having to stand alone without the shield as you make the statements that need to be made. You have no difficulty communicating your ideas as such, but there is a fear that you are in some way going to dishonor the body of information and the power of the God force within it, attempting to represent it accurately. That holds you back. And I just have to say for myself as well, in fact, it astonishes me how people will pick up this course and, next week they'll be doing a seminar on it. They never read it or did the lessons, but they're out there teaching the course. And, that's happened with several people throughout time. In fact, there was one student who I think Helen got really kind of irritated with because, yeah, very new into the existence of the course. They were out there offering teaching and seminars before they'd even been able to do all the lessons. So, I guess, different people have a different way. And I recognize for me and probably for you too, Sharon, the first many years that I studied the course and I ran that Disappearance of the Universe group. And according to some people I've heard just recently, they really thought I was a good teacher from that. But for me, I didn't even look at the teacher's manual. I didn't even look at the manual for teachers until I had been studying the course for probably 10 years.
That's me too. Well, no, I
Really?
was in a group with Liz Cronkite, so we read it,
Yeah.
but I
Okay.
didn't. The manual is really the secret because when you read the manual, you get the whole course.
Right. And that's what I realized after I finally read the manual. But I was telling, well, I was actually at I think I knew, you know what? It was when we went to um, uh, see Ken Wapnick because I was with Aussie and a couple other people, and they were asking questions, and I was talking, explaining what I thought. And Aussie said to me, Lynn, I don't know why you say you're not a teacher. You are a teacher and a very good teacher. And I was like, what? I was shocked. That was the first time anybody ever told me that
Well,
I
we all
could
are
teach.
because we can only teach ourselves.
Right. But I didn't. I was like so like I just did not feel worthy. And I think that's what he's talking about, Bill here, that he doesn't feel worthy, or he's worried that he's going to say something that's going to be against or off, or that's not going to be in, that he's going to mess something up. And that's pretty
Mm.
much how I felt too. I didn't feel confident going out, certainly not amongst other Course in Miracles teachers, because boy, I'll tell you, you say the wrong thing in a room full of Course in Miracles teachers, and you're going to get, the what for from everyone who comes down to correct you. And that's one of the reasons that in Gather, we do not correct the other teachers, even if they're saying something that sounds
Right,
really
it's not,
wacky.
that is actually the healthy way to go. If you're going by the course, then you don't correct anybody.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. And that's, I mean, honestly, especially with the politics thing, there are other people out there besides Trump and Biden who are, trying to become president. And, I, some of those people I have opinions about, but there are other people who are Course in Miracles students who think they're great and in perfect accord with what they're learning from the course. And so, for me, I'm like, that sounds wacky, but that sounds wacky, but uh, I have to step back and ask the question, could it be? And be open for it to be true. Be open for because it's just like we are all living in our own separate little universe, and in some universes Hitler was a good guy. I mean,
No,
everybody.
no, I mean, I have read about there's more than one of us here, like in other words, there's things that we just don't understand,
Yeah,
like if it's projection, we could be somewhere else,
yeah.
we don't know, and it's never really, it's just a concept that we hate. We don't hate a person, there's no people, but I wanted to
No.
talk to you about the energy fields. I don't understand. I guess everybody has a light body and everybody's an energy field, right? So the higher we go in no thinking, then our energy goes up. Because here we're going to get into that, what our energy
Yeah.
fields reveal.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, and I don't know if Mandy still does the halo gazing, but Mandy, if like at some point, she was doing what she called halo gazing, and if like I have several that I sent her pictures of me, and then she looked at it and actually drew what she saw as far as my halo, not my aura. She's real clear. It's not your aura. It's your actual halo. And I guess
Oh,
it's your
she can
energy
see
field.
that? She can see it?
Yeah, she can see it. That's why a lot of times she'll say, I can see, you're in the light or something if you're talking because she can see these things. So, and I've known people throughout my life that could see this stuff as well. So it's not like unusual or abnormal. And
Yeah, we just have it blocked, like
yeah,
Corinne Zuko talks about that because she got into all that.
yeah,
The
and
energy
yeah,
field is just like, well, here, I'll read. Should I go on to read?
sure. And just think about it in terms of, um, actually even humans, we give off light. And it
Yeah.
is actual visible light that can be seen, by certain instruments. They can actually
Karen's
see
here.
light that's come from us. So yeah. So hey, Karen, welcome.
Sharon wants to know what the difference between halo and aura is. I don't know. That's what I would like to know.
Well, and to Mandy, it was a big difference. So I think that maybe the aura is I don't know. I don't even want to mention. I can put on a recording after this because I think Myrna is not here. Pretty sure that Myrna is still on her cruise. So after this, I can put on a recording of Mandy talking about and doing the halo gazing, and maybe we can understand that. Would if y'all want to hang out for that. Okay, so yeah, why don't you continue to read,
Okay. Hi, Karen. I know you're probably not dressed, but I just said hi. Okay. What our energy fields reveal about any of us is fascinating. We simply can't hide what is going on in our so-called private space. Judith Scotch Whitson' first impression of Bill was that of a trapped monk. She noticed his darting eyes and very straight back poised as if he were always getting ready to leave. About 5 months into their friendship, she mentioned that first impression, at which point he smiled and said, "I knew you knew." What she noted was not Bill's usual demeanor, but the fear Leroy identified occasionally revealed itself. Okay, I don't get that. I knew you knew. Okay, so he's telling her he knew, but who's Leroy?
That's that psychic that was saying
Oh, all right, yeah, that he
about him
revealed.
before. Yeah.
Yeah. It's apparent by now that Bill and Helen's relationship was unique, to say the least. To illustrate, Whitson recounts an early experience with Judy and the course. In the spring of 1979, Judy visited Washington and we got together. While she was there, I hoped to explore the relationship, if any, between the past ego personality and the ego as defined by the course. To do that, I decided to introduce Mike, a colleague knowledgeable about the past. So past must be a test. I don't know.
I
To
think it's a
Judy,
psychological assessment
right,
system.
that's what I figured. Judy
Yeah.
and Mike hit it off immediately at lunch, and I had arranged for us. I find Judy Whitson so fascinating. Now, I one of my favorite books is Journey Without Distance. I think it's such it's yeah, I could read it again and again because it just is done. Bob Scotch wrote it, and it's done in a way that you feel like you're there with them. That's how I felt. Always do when I read it. Anyway, I'm
What is the name of the book?
Journey Without Distance. It's the story of A Course in Miracles. It was written by Bob Scotch. Anyway, I knew he would be somewhat skeptical about the fundamental precepts of the Course and whoever had dreamed up such a system of thought. So amazing because it is a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant book. I mean, I can't say the older I get, the more I see that God, it's just genius. At the time, Bill and Helen had pledged to Judy to silence about their role in scribing the course, insisting on remaining anonymous. So Judy refused to give Mike their names or even the local of their university. But as she continued to describe them, their personalities and relationship with one another, Mike, Mike suddenly asked, "Are you talking about Bill Thetford and Helen Schuckman?" Judy was dumbfounded. She wondered what she had said to reveal Helen and Bill's secret. In turn, Mike stared at Judy in disbelief, telling her that he knew them, but that he never knew they had produced A Course in Miracles. Mike explained that he couldn't think of anyone else who fit Judy's descriptions. He would now have to reassess his prior judgments of Bill and Helen. He also told Judy that he had worked with them and knew them as a truly remarkable team. Mike's association with them related to finding many of their projects. He remembered Bill as being the stable, imperturbable academic, calm and easygoing, which contrasted with Helen's assertive vitality. He thought of Helen as a tough-minded New York intellectual with no-nonsense, intensive, questioning mind. Yet as a team professionally, he found them incredibly productive. So much for trying to hide. Bill and Helen's relationship was most unusual in other ways as well. Ken Wapnick noted that although they could fight endlessly when either really needed help or support, the other was there without condition and for as long as needed. Also, when involved in the course work, they were loving and kind to one another. All enmity put aside, on returning to the academic work, however, the snipping would resume. Bill would write, Helen would ferociously edit. He would take that personally, and they were off and running. It's as if they continually flipped a switch, operating at extremes. A real love-hate relationship, but both were resolute in their commitment to the course and to avoiding endangering its transmission in any way. Their battles were not limited to normal workouts. I asked Ken if he was included in the after-hours war once he joined the project, and he answered emphatically, oh God, yes, always in general. Well, be together all day, and they would argue all the time. I'd go home with Helen to have dinner with her and Lewis. After dinner, Helen would call Bill or he would call her. I'd go to another room and they'd continue where they left off for up to an hour. For a long time, we'd have lunch together on Saturday, then go to Bill's apartment or take a walk in the park if it was nice. And then go to Bill's apartment and continue. At some point, we stopped doing it because it was just awful. The arguing was enough already. I can see that. They both seemed determined to make themselves miserable. Bill used to say he thought he and Helen needed the course because they intensely resisted each other's egos. To say they were astonished as the message unfolded would be a gross understatement. Bill quickly recognized he would need to examine and release virtually everything he believed and seriously questioned his ability to do that. You know, the Course in Miracles does ask us to give everything to the Holy Spirit, but there's always things that we leave behind. And that's what I'm looking at now in my subconscious. What am I not looking at? Because, you know, judgment wouldn't be happening if I had, like, you know, a completely pure subconscious. But no, I'm not there all the time. I'm there a lot, but I'm not there to live there. No, it's still a process. In fact, he described being in shock for a while, wondering how much an abrupt shift could be possible. How important were all his academic achievements and recognition? What was really valuable? Everything would have to be reevaluated. What was really valuable? Everything would have to be reevaluated. To live that a schizophrenic kind of life, pursuing a career in traditionally psychology on one hand, and trying to deal with the dynamics of the course and its ramifications on the other, was a huge feat for both of them. From what Bill told me, the endless wrenching nature of this dichotomy was incredibly difficult for him. Relentlessly, day after day, the course pointed out the mirroring nature of our world, relationships, situations, circumstances, and inescapable fact that we are fully responsible for our subjective experience. The world you see depicts exactly what you thought you did. See, and that's the whole point. Like, when we see what's going on out there, we feel like we killed our creator when we think we're people. Except that now you think that what you did is being done to you. It's always about our guilt, always about our guilt. The world but demonstrates an ancient truth. You will believe the others do to you exactly what you think you did to them. You will not see the cause of what they do because you want the guilt to rest on them. The secret to salvation is but this, that you are doing this unto yourself. No matter what the form of the attack, this still is true. Whoever takes the role of enemy and of attacker, still is this the truth. Whatever seems to be the cause of and any pain and suffering you feel, this is still true. Okay. It's Bill and Helen worked together to produce a transcript of the course. They felt genuine excitement as the project unfolded, providing a truly meaningful function as they joined in common purpose. It was rewarding in ways that regular work at Columbia was not. Bill said later that it felt amazingly familiar, a feeling not unique to them. Isn't that interesting? I think that's true for all of us. There's a memory in us that knows all this is true. I have spoken with many people who have described how much at home they felt with the material. How it resonated at a profound level like a long lost truth. Once when Bill and I were discussing the course, I told him I felt like it was mine, almost like I had written it. Wow. He answered, I'm sure you did. He did not mean that I literally had something to do with scribing it in its current form, but that we are all part of the unified self from which it derives. At some level, we have all collectively written in anticipation of our comprehensive waking up. Okay. All right, Lynn, it's all yours.
All right. Wow. Yeah, that's all really really very interesting. And it's funny how you wonder, how did they argue all day? How did they fight all day and still do this? It's such a dichotomy, right? I mean, talk about the ego split. It was evident right there, that they were doing heaven's purpose and their own at the same time.
Right.
It's like being what do you call it? Kind of a schizophrenic thing. It's must have been really, really difficult for them, I think. So I'll continue reading. And okay, so Bill and Helen sometimes asked the author, the voice Helen heard, why they were chosen to bring this material forward, because they often felt unfit for the job. The voice indicated that the confidence in them was not misplaced, as their commitment and agreement to do this work was already known. Eventually, they realized the inevitability of their commitment, and neither seriously considered giving it up. The answer Bill gave in the few interviews he granted to the question of why us was because you're doing it. That was a correct but insufficient answer. In the text, defined as, quote, a reconstructed proto-text set up as the basis of variants in extant later text. What? I don't even understand what that means. And in this case, Bill's original unedited type notes of ACIM, the author gave them a more complete and direct answer. You have been chosen to teach the atonement precisely because you have been extreme examples of allegiance to your thought systems and therefore have developed the capacity for allegiance. It has indeed been misplaced. Bill has become an outstanding example of allegiance to apathy, and you, Helen, have become a startling example of fidelity to variability. Jesus is so funny. I'm just cracking up over here. Like, oh man, no, yeah, Bill, you are the epitome of apathy.
Yeah, that's funny.
And gee, Helen, you are absolutely the standard for variability. I love it. But this is a form of faith, which you yourselves have grown willing to redirect. You cannot doubt the strength of your devotion when you consider how faithfully you observed it. It was quite evident that you had already developed the ability to follow a better model if you could accept it. And so it's yeah, Jesus is telling him, you've already decided that you're going to have allegiance to whatever it is that you think is important, and look at how you defend it. And isn't that how we do? We try to defend what we think has meaning for us. In fact, I think Karen was saying something about having read about this young man that tried to assassinate the ex-president, and that one of the things the psychologist said is that the reason that they do that is because they believe that this person is going to take away from them something that they can't live without, that the most important thing to them, and whatever that may be, that was so important to this young man that he would give his life for something like that. You have to understand that's a faith, and the faith that it is so strong that yeah, you're willing to kill or die for it. And I mean, we look at it, our faith in our country, our nationality, our faith to our gender, our faith to our family, our faith to our school, hail hail Notre Dame. I mean, our faith to our favorite football team. We have faith and allegiance that is like beyond anything that we would need.
It's just the power of belief, and we're insane. We really are.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So if
Karen's
we
raising her hand.
oh please, Karen, go ahead.
Hi, ladies.
Hi.
Yeah, it's also, Lynn, I agree with everything you're sharing. And also the belief that something outside of us is our salvation, that he was a political scientist. And he said that when someone tries to assassinate a president, it's because they believe that this president is the one who is going to fulfill his dreams. And if he assassinates this president, I'm paraphrasing, but if he assassinates this president, then people won't have that power to choose this president anymore because he wants to wipe him off the face of the earth. So no one can choose him because he's taking away his dreams. And that's so course related because
Yeah.
that's what the ego does. The ego wants to take away our power of choice.
I could look at what I do. Like, when I have a belief, like, I can't even explain it. But, like if I'm afraid and it's a belief, we're married to it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, you and just think about the things that you would kill or die for. What would you kill or die for? And I mean, we think, oh, I would die for this, but what would you actually kill somebody for? I mean,
I don't
it
know if
would
I could kill another person. I really don't think I could.
well, something would happen. If someone is attacking your child or your grandchild, someone is
Who
I mean,
knows? If I could snap, I would. Yeah.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. What's so important to you that you would be willing to do such
Right.
a thing?
Well, again,
to
we say, well, Lynn, it's my child. Come on. That's how we are. We protect because we think we're real.
Yeah, and we think our children need us to protect them.
Right,
But
of
anyway,
course.
the
Well,
thing
that's our
being that,
training. Karen's hands up again.
okay, yeah, go ahead, Karen.
Yeah, just really quick. I don't want to sidetrack you guys. I just want to say that I looked
You're
up
not,
this.
I love it.
I looked up the spiritual halo, and it is when you see a ring of light around someone's head or figure. And I know we've all, probably most of us have experienced this at one time or another. I know I experienced it one time a long time ago, and it's for me, it wasn't something that I saw outside of me. We were in a circle. It was a Course in Miracles. At the end of the meeting, we would stand in a circle, hold hands. My eyes were closed, and I saw a ring of light around this all of our heads, like the whole circle was around all of us. It was the unity. I could feel it, and it was so intense. And it lasted about less than a minute, but it was pretty intense. And that was my experience. Now, I know maybe people have seen it outside of themselves, but I never did. And I'm not sure exactly what it means if you actually see it physically outside or you see it within, but that was my experience. But that's the definition. Thanks.
Okay, well, thank you, Karen. And actually, our time is about up here. I'm gonna, I know I
Oh,
can't.
put the other thing on. I would love that. Yeah, because then
Yeah, I'm gonna,
Ozzy and Red Wayne come on.
yeah, let's see, let me look here.
Yeah, and we can even
Mm,
I really
yeah,
think that it's
yeah,
it's therapeutic to join with everything.
exactly. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and close out this YouTube. If I can, oh, and Karen has her hand up again. Please go ahead, Karen.
No, 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 no.
Okay, all right. All righty.